Guten Erev Shabbos. Today's insight I'm recording with my Kita Hey Talmidim. We're participating in a pre-Purim Farbrengen. Vayihi bimei Achashverosh, oh Achashverosh, Vayihi bimei Achashverosh, oh Achashverosh. Talmidim, I'd like to share with you an insight on the Megillah. The Gemara says that starting from the 6th parak in the Megillah is Toik Vaishalnes. That's where the miracle really unfolds. The first 5 prakim, the Torah tells us a story about a king who rolled over 127 provinces and he had a party, a lot of details. But the miracle really begins in Parak Shishi, to the extent that there's an opinion of the Gemara that you actually have to start reading the Megillah only from the 6th parak. But in actuality, we read the whole Megillah. Why is that? So I'd like to tell you a story of when I was around your age. When I was 11 or 12, I knew a person named Mr. Joe Silver. He was getting involved in Yiddishkeit, and he'd come over our house for Shabbos. He would daven in shul, we'd walk home together, and I became quite close to him. Another interesting thing about this Mr. Silver was that he had a shul. He was involved with a shul in East Liberty, and they couldn't make a minyan, so the bachrim from yeshiva would walk to East Liberty on a Shabbos to make a minyan. Fast forward many years later, my dear friend, Rabbi Mendy Sasankin, Olav Shalom, Unz Tzalangayarn, calls me up and he says, there's someone in my community who passed away and the family wants to make a Shabbos Kiddush for him and they'd like a guest speaker. Would I come? I say, I'll come under one condition, if I could bring my Mesifta with me, because every year the Mesifta would have a Shabbaton. So I said, if I could bring my Mesifta with me, I'll come. He says, sure, you'll come, they'll sleep in the shul, whatever, and so be it. Around a half an hour before I actually spoke, I asked someone sitting next to me, who is this person who I'm speaking about? Who's the person who passed away? Because Rabbi Sasankin, when he called me, he didn't even tell me who it was. They said, his name is Mr. Joe Silver. I said, Mr. Joe Silver? Is that the Mr. Joe Silver who used to live in Pittsburgh? They said, yeah, he actually lived in Pittsburgh, but his children live here. When he got older, he moved to Akron. So all of a sudden, it dawned upon me that I was speaking at Mr. Joe Silver's yahrzeit Kiddush, and who did I have with me? The Bachrim, who for many years had made a minyan in the shul that he was associated with. I saw the tremendous hashgacha pratis, which is actually what I ended up speaking about. I switched my speech and I spoke about the fact that Hashem wanted, for some reason, that I would be the speaker at his yahrzeit. Let's come back to the Megillah, Talmidim. When you read the first 5 prakim, all of the details, we don't necessarily understand why the Megillah is sharing with us all these facts. It's only when we come to Parak Shishi, the 6th parak, the miracle then unfolds. Right? And then we reflect back on what happened in the first 5 prakim. Then we understand why the Megillah had to tell us all those details. And they all contributed to the eventual miracle, which we hear about in Parak Shishi. And that's really how life works, Talmidim. When we're younger and we're involved in our day-to-day interactions, conversations, sometimes we make a mistake and then we have to say I'm sorry. Incidents with our parents, all sorts of things happen every single day, and we don't necessarily understand how those incidents, events, occurrences contribute to who we are. It's only as we get older and then later on we reflect back on what those things were, we realize that all of those incidents, occurrences helped form me for who I am and who I became. And what that does is that teaches us that even when we don't understand why I went through a particular situation, or why I had a particular conversation, or why this or that happened, we have to recognize that there is a purpose and there is a reason, and it's meaningful. Later on, we'll figure out all those details. When Mashiach comes, we'll know for sure why we had to go through and the purpose and the value to everything we experienced in our life. When we look at every moment with such appreciation, that brings us true joy, which is something we need to achieve in the month of Adar. Have a wonderful Shabbos.